Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Brian Jester, co-founder here at Occupy Fantasy, and you're about to watch a replay of our Tuesday night Twitch stream, The $1 Million Mission, Week 7 edition, where we take a look at my previous week's 150 NFL DFS lineups from FanDuel and DraftKings in a quest to try to win the $1 million top prize once again. Now, in these videos, these streams every Tuesday night, they are live, and we take your questions and we talk about NFL DFS tournament strategy. We look at what pros do in their 150 tournament lineups, and then we also take a look at what the winning lineups did to see if we can learn any information about their process. Now, in this particular Week 7 edition, we also talked about the mental aspect of DFS and how to evaluate your process when you're losing or going through a tough, rough stretch in your DFS contest. And then we also talked about very specifically how to handle cheap backup running backs who are thrust into starting roles. So like Jamal Williams this past week, Gio Bernard, what the pros do, why I put Jamal Williams in 100% of my lineups this past week. Lots of great discussion that's applicable to any DFS slate that you play. So again, you can always watch these videos live, twitch.tv/Occupy Fantasy. That link's in the description below as we go live every single Tuesday night. That way you can get your questions answered live as we're streaming. Always important. All right, I think you'll really enjoy this episode. Sit back, take notes, and enjoy.
What's up, everybody? It is Moose and Brian here from OccupyFantasy.com at OccupyFantasy on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. I'm here with Brian at Brian Jester FF on Twitter. What's up, man? How you doing?
What's up, Moose? I am good. Feeling good. How you doing?
Pretty good. Had some pizza for dinner. Always good to get some pizza, man. Sometimes you got to kick back, relax, and do that. I've been watching the show Schitt's Creek on Hulu. I don't know if you've heard about it.
Yeah, I've definitely seen a couple episodes.
It's one of those things where it's really bad, but I just want to know how it ends, so I'm kind of just stuck watching it.
I hear you. Yeah.
So, we're here, Week 7 of the $1 Million Mission. If you don't know what that is, Brian, do you want to tell them what it is?
Yeah, every week we review my previous week's 150 NFL DFS lineups, FanDuel and DraftKings, in my attempt to recapture another $1 million win. Took the $1 million home from DraftKings, and I've been the solo president of the NFL Showdown Millie fan club, and I almost had to invite another member into the fan club last night, but defeat. Well, no, the guy got fucked up with the solo Millie last night. So for me, it's still me for now in the NFL Showdown Millie solo club.
Yeah, I would be very upset if I was him today. I don't know what I'd be doing with my life. Probably drinking.
Yeah.
Probably some sort of...
Definitely drinking. Yeah, definitely drinking.
Something.
I'd be very upset.
What's up, Willie Ball? What's up, Cloud Ice? Glad you are here. Yeah, so as Brian said, we're going to review his lineups, how he did, being fully transparent. If you guys are watching and you have questions, go ahead and ask them in the chat. If you're watching this replay here on YouTube, you can go ahead and put a comment down with a question below, and we'll get back to you. So let's look at how Brian did last week on DraftKings. Week 7 DraftKings, 1315 entries, a little over 500 winnings for a minus 61% ROI.
Gross.
Let's see here. And then for FanDuel, 2466 in entries, 1956 in winnings for a little better, minus 21% ROI.
Yeah, and you may be wondering why the higher entry fees over on FanDuel. They're really just a couple different contest types. I'm really trying to spread out my, we had a really large discussion about contest selection in the Discord earlier this week, and we can talk about a little bit about that if anyone's interested in it. But able to spread my risk reward a little bit over 3 different contest types in FanDuel. Obviously, the big giant Millie for $4, the rush for $9, and then I forget what the other one's called, but it's a $3 one. All different contest sizes, payout structures. So really just trying to diversify a little bit. Where on DraftKings, the slant really is a fantastic GPP with 2x to min cash. Really evenly distributed prizes at the top of the leaderboard. So I don't have to spread it out as much over there.
Yeah. So you're saying you're not playing the mini max where it's like 4 million people, first prize is $1,000.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the equivalent over on FanDuel with the $4, right? It's like 600,000 people.
Yeah,
and that's not going to be a true representation of my GPP ROI unless I somehow bank. The rush is a little top heavy. It's actually very top heavy. and then the $3 kind of a little bit in between. So get a good mix.
Nice. A question here from Kansas: do you run different sets of 150 for the contest then?
No, so I run the same exact 150 for each of those. Just because the prizes aren't large enough individually. If it was like 3 separate 100K prizes, like for me, a 100K prize is my goal, right? If I hit a 100K prize, I do pretty well for the year. So if it was like 3 separate contests, 100K to first each, yeah, maybe I'll do 3 sets of 150. But because it's like 50K, 20K, and then just like the off chance of hitting the milli on FanDuel, I'll just run the same 150 across. And that's what we talked about in the Discord earlier this week, and we could talk about it a little more because I think maybe some people missed that. It was a random like Monday afternoon we were talking about it, and someone asked about backing up their entries. So if I enter 10 lineups, 20 lineups, do you just enter those in one contest? Do you enter those in other types of contests? And we hit on this a little bit in the Ultimate Guide, but if you have the bankroll to do it, if let's say you're planning on playing the $1.20 max, the first down I think it's called on DraftKings, so $20 worth of entries for 20 different lineups. I advised people in the Discord that instead of spending all $1 on each lineup, split it up into 25 cents into 4 different contest types per lineup. So do a 25-cent big GPP, 25% league, 25-cent multiplier, and a 25-cent satellite. That way, no matter however your lineup finishes in the top 20, you're going to get paid the best based on where you finish. Because if you just say you barely squeak into the top 20%, your best payout is going to be a quintuple up, a multiplier, because everyone gets 5 times their money if they get the top 20, top 20%. If you get the top 1%, obviously you're missing out on some cash in the multiplier, but you're only getting 8 times your money in a GPP. But if you finish top 1% in a contest or league, you're getting 15 to 25 times. So you maximize it there. Then if somehow your lineup hits that top 0.1%, you get that full ROI from the GPP. So really by diversifying your contest types, if your bankroll can afford it, it really gives you a much truer return on your investment, no matter where your lineup finishes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, and I'm going to expand on that in a little bit, but Qualkheist, again, got promoted early in the week this time, gifting 5 subs. Ray and Son, Don't Steal My Banana, Franchise, Gavin, Play Naked. You all are now subscribers, so I'm going to go ahead and put in the Discord command. It means you get access to the Discord. If you go ahead and click that link, it'll give you the full instructions on how to join our Discord server. As Bismo says, go Kais.
There's not much more room for him. There's not much more upward mobility, as they say in the corporate world, for Qualkheist. He's getting promoted every single week. He's got to go to a new company and then find more ceiling in his development, because the dude's getting promoted every single week.
And he of course just gave a gift, a sub to Bismo now. Nice.
Qualkheist, the GOAT.
Nice.
Qualkheist has gifted 68 subs in this channel. That's unbelievable. And Q's only been around since League of Legends days.
Yeah.
Back in March. So big shout out to Qualkheist. Thank you, sir.
And of course he did one to you as well.
I didn't need it though, to be honest. My shit did expire here. So thank you, Qualkheist. I appreciate it.
Yeah, very nice. And Qualkheist had to make it a nice 69.
Appreciate you, bro. Thank you.
Yeah, and I want to say, like, that's almost like when you're talking about contest selection and stuff like that, it's the same thing as if you're playing. I've seen it before. I don't know how, because we don't have what's actually been matched, but sometimes I'll see people in the head-to-head lobbies, and they'll put up $5 ones when they could be doing 25 $1 ones and spread out that allocation.
Right. No, it's the same exact thing. And head-to-heads are a little bit different, but the key is diversity.
Yeah.
And head-to-heads, you want to diversify to get your true ROI, because if you play just one head-to-head, your ROI is 0 or 100%, right? Whereas if you play, 5 people, it could still be 0 or 100%. Ideally, if you played every single person on DraftKings, your ROI would be the true percentage that it should be. So obviously you can't do that, but somewhere in between, the more the better. And the way we talk about it as far as high-risk contests, and this applies not if you're just making 20 lineups, but if you're making one lineup for the night, if you can somehow, if your allocation allows you to play more than $1, you can enter it into different contest types. So if we say enter a high-risk lineup, right, a lot of times it's going to be pretty similarly built. So you play your quintuple up, you play your 100-player league, you play your single entry GPP. And that way, if you get in the top 20%, you're going to be accurately rewarded for where your lineup finishes, whether it's top 20%, top 0.1%. Finishes below that, you're getting zero regardless of which contest type you play. But really trying to maximize your ROI based on contest selection.
Yeah, couldn't have hit it better. So let's look at how Brian did. Look how he's done year to date across both sites. Still staying in that positive. 20.9k in entries, 21.8 in winnings, 5% ROI. Which, hey, not many investments will give you 5% ROI.
That's true. I'll take it. Believe me, I want my ROI to be much higher, but believe me, I'll take the positive. I'll definitely take the positive for sure.
Yeah, and good old chart from Biz Charts. Bismo here in the chat put this together for us. So yeah, down, 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 spike, down, down, as we say every week.
This is literally, if you just look at my DFS history, right? You might have to zoom out a little bit because the skewed $1 million spike, but it's literally like this. It's like bump up a little, maybe a little tiny bumps, spike, valley, back up again, and it's just like literally this heart rate monitor over eternity. So when you get in the valleys, it sucks, and you know, in the future, might have some content about like the mental aspect of it. And I think a lot of people would enjoy that. We got a lot of content, news, and stuff just in general coming down the pike. So really excited to announce a lot of stuff. So if that's something that's interests you, I know a lot of people like reading about what pros do. And really, we only see the positive side of things, right? We see the screenshots, the interviews. No one really hears from people who have skin in the game when they're at their low point. Yeah. And I think that could help a lot of people not just understand like the true picture of DFS, but like help them just in their regular day life too, when people reach their valleys in just everyday stuff, not just DFS.
Yeah, no, like I would love to interview you when you went like 30 straight days losing in MLB, and you're like, this shit sucks. I know my process is working, and then boom, back-to-back GPPs wins. But like I would love to interview you at that low point and see how are you compared to your high points.
Well, you got the next 17 minutes to ask, because the last, outside of this chart here, again, we're being 100% transparent here. Showdown, no binks so far this year. MMA's had a cold stretch. PGA, I airballed the 2 Fantasy Golf World Championship entries. So certainly in that valley area right now. So yeah, if you guys have questions about that, feel free to ask.
Yeah. Yeah, a couple people saying that would be a good content. Bismo saying he would love to know the non-DFS aspects of DFS, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, it's just as important as like the technical aspects of building your lineups and entering contests and stuff.
Yeah. You know, the biggest thing that I have, and it's very difficult to answer, is how do you know your process works versus you just suck?
It's tough, man. It's really tough. Like, obviously, we talked about in the Showdown guide, looking at the metrics that you can tell. Like for my Showdown, I know what I'm trying to do. I know that it's going to take a long time period for my ROI to be realized, given my high risk approach. And by looking at my unique numbers every slate, looking at if we accurately predicted ownership and what the field would do, and looking at if my leverage spots that I thought I would have were actually leveraged. Whatever happens on the field, I can't control, but if I can get myself in good spots, and it's kind of funny because even though like my ROI the past few months has been down, I feel like I'm in the best spot I've been, and I feel like my process is as sharp as it's ever been. But I actually talked to a pro recently. I'm not going to name any names here, but a pro recently was telling me that they're in the middle of a down stretch, and it actually is affecting their process. Like, I mean, we're human beings, right? Like, if it's not affecting your process, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, you're lying. So to actually hear that was kind of jarring, just to hear someone like flat out admit, yeah, I'm struggling, and the losing is affecting my process. So it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, even though I'm, like I said, I'm doing just the the 150 mini max on FanDuel, stuff like that, and when I went like 3 weeks in a row, I was like, man, I went 150 like twice in 2 weeks back to back. I'm like, God damn, this sucks. Yeah, so cool. All right, so let's jump into it. I'm gonna go ahead and switch over to the Fantasy Labs contest dashboard, which if you don't know, I can get this logo off the screen. Fantasy Labs contest dashboard, free resource, fantasylabs.com, allows you to check out different contests for DraftKings and the Showdown. See what everyone's done. It's a absolutely fantastic resource. I would highly suggest anyone use it and study it to see what other 150 maxers do to kind of get your own little strategy.
Yeah, so Jonathan Bales, co-founder of Fantasy Labs, first of all, you should check out his newsletter. It's great, first of all. I mean, lots of good stuff he's putting out in his newsletter. And one of the things he said is, like, we try to provide as much value at Fantasy Labs for free to get people hooked to buy the real product, which is, a great strategy. Mm-hmm. But all of us here benefit because they have a ton of great free tools. So let's utilize them.
Yeah, I don't know a single person who doesn't use, like, the Fantasy Labs NBA Twitter. Like, that's probably one of the best free resources there is out there.
Yeah, like if you're not, you're behind the eight ball. Like, you should be playing. You should be using. Like look at the end of our ultimate guide. We have like links to like 20 other resources that aren't Occupy Fantasy. The shit's free. Hell, if it's paid and it helps your game, like, go use it. We're not gonna say you can only use Occupy Fantasy. Yeah. It's crazy.
Definitely. What's up, Ed? Says, yeah, it's nice to hear that I'm not the only one getting frustrated.
Yeah, I think it is nice for everyone, right? Because, like, all right, we have members. They expect us to give them winning plays and strategies. And if they're losing and we're all, laughing and smiling and sending screenshots, like, everyone's like, what the fuck are they doing? Like, how am I not winning? Like, listen, we all lose too. And so I think it's definitely nice for them to hear, like, dude, it sucks when we lose too. And, like, we feel you. Like, we try to build something great here and we want to be transparent with people. And by saying it sucks when we lose, people will feel that and they understand that.
Yeah. Definitely. Cool. So I've pulled up the slant and I have your exposures and I'm sorted by your ownership percentage. Lock button Jamal Williams, 100% in all 150 lineups. Take me through that process.
Yeah, and if you look over on FanDuel, it was lock button Jamal Williams. So I literally locked Jamal Williams into 300 lineups on Sunday, which is a little nerve-wracking move. It was getting kind of sketchy there until he got the touchdown at the end. But the process is there. If we look, I think this is probably a good opportunity to where if we look at who we think are some of the top NFL DFS players, what they did with Jamal Williams, a vast majority of them had 90% plus Jamal Williams. Yeah. And we can look. I mean, you guys can look for yourself, or we can put up on screen either way. You can trust us. They did. And so, really, Moose, what was the interesting part here was we had two value running backs, Gio Bernard and Jamal Williams. For me, what it came down to, Green Bay was favorites, much higher team total, and just felt safer with Jamal Williams' role. And he was cheaper. He was minimum price, $4K on DraftKings. So, and on FanDuel, even though he was $200 more expensive, I felt he had more touchdown equity than Gio Bernard, even though they both scored. But yeah, again, we talked about it on Saturday at the NFL stream. When these situations come up and you're making lineups, and the guy's way underpriced, thrust into a starting role as a running back, sometimes it's going to bust, but the right play is put him into every single one of your lineups. That way you benefit from his expected outcome.
Yeah, you can't see the names, but I'm looking here. I've sorted by 150 max entries who have 100% max exposure. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Holy
5,
shit.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 150 max had 100% max exposure this week.
And then if you scroll down, right, there's like some 99s, 98s.
Yeah,
so
30s, 20s, stuff like that. Yeah, so.
Yeah, nice. tons. Yeah, I mean, again, all the profitable, or like the generally profitable players, the guys who know what they're doing, are going to lock button Jamal Williams in this scenario.
Yeah. Question here from Chris says, did you plan to 0.5x Kamara, or was the ownership just a surprise for you too?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised he got that high. He got to close to 50%, which makes sense just because Gio and Jamal were so cheap and a lot of people were jamming them in. I wanted 50+%. It's just on DraftKings, it's so goddamn hard to get those guys in there because of game stacks and stuff. So I tried. My targets were like, I wanted like 100% Jamal, 50% Gio, 75% Kamara. I couldn't get it to work. Nothing was working out that way, especially with Arizona and Seattle stacks. So a little surprised to see him that high. I wanted more. In hindsight, would have liked to get a lot higher than 25% exposure.
Yeah. Let's see here. Ed says, I've been a part of several tout sites who give info and play the opposite and brag about 5 and 6 figure wins. That's why I appreciate you guys.
Well, Ed, we don't show you the ones where I win without the occupy plays. I keep those to ourselves. I mean, we can't. Come on, gotta keep up this facade, right?
Yeah. Bismo says, how do you nail GPP running backs? It doesn't seem like there's anything indicative of it. For example, we have underperforming wide receivers, which are awesome, but how can we predict a running back explosion, i.e. James Robinson? Just seems random.
It's definitely tough. I mean, the one thing we could say about James Robinson, the dude's crazy involved, right? He has like 98% of Jacksonville's running back carries this year. Chris Thompson was out. And in hindsight, we probably should have played more James Robinson because we knew his role would be a near 100% role with Chris Thompson out. So yeah, I think the model had him projected pretty highly, but obviously our focus was on Kamara. It was on the two value running backs. So yeah, definitely overlooked, and that's the reason he was only 3% owned in most GPPs.
Yeah.
The takeaway here most is volume. If we can get guys to either project for a ton of volume and are in high team totals, that's one. Project for a ton of volume and they're like crazy cheap because of injuries, or guys who are expected to get more volume than they usually do because of an injury to their backfield mate. And that one goes overlooked a lot, and that's what happened to James Robinson this week.
Yeah. Yeah, and as Chris points out, he was pretty high in the model for weighted opportunities last week. So check that part out in the model. Just filter by weighted opportunity, see who has over 37, 38, and start from there.
Yeah, and then you can kind of compare it to previous weeks too. It's like, wow, this guy's projected for more than he's ever had. Why is that the case? And let's investigate, and should we use more of this guy? But yeah, I made that mistake too, Bismo. There's another mistake I made. We can talk about either now or in a second. But yeah, I mean, again, we're not playing perfectly here. We're trying to understand the mistakes we made, and then that's literally what this Tuesday stream is for.
Yeah, exactly. Ken says, can we click on some of these names to see if it actually was Jamal Williams? Let's
People going 100%.
Wow. So A Raven went 100% Kamara, 94.7% Jamal.
And how much Devontae Adams?
86.
Well, that was pretty good idea, huh?
Yeah. Let's check out some other people here. 100% Kareem Hunt.
All right, interesting names.
Very interesting name.
What do you have, Jamal? 51% Jamal Williams. Okay.
Yeah.
Who is this, Moose?
This is KC2884.
Okay. I don't know who that is.
Let's see. This person had 100% Jamal Williams as well, 90% Alvin Kamara, 62% Washington defense, so they were pretty sharp.
They just looked at the model, clearly.
Yeah. I'm trying to see. I don't see anyone that name sticks out. I'll just do.
What did Osimo do? I know Osimo was in the slant. So how did he approach it?
Let's see. So his max was 92%. He did 92% Jamal Williams, 54% Kamara.
Nice.
And I'm trying to see where he put Gio.
Yeah.
He had 4% Gio.
Oh, so he just mixed them a little bit. But yeah, I mean, for some reason, some pros won't lock it. They'll leave an extra couple percent, and we see that pretty often too. But a lot of the guys I looked at, I think, was Mock Lovin in this one, MOKLOVIN.
Let's see. Yeah.
There's a lot of talk about.
He had
what did he do?
66% with Kamara and Williams.
Interesting. Okay, but still over the field.
Yeah. Let's see here. All right, let's catch up on some questions, comments. AJ says Robinson's completely taken over that backfield. Can't wait for them to play Houston.
He's gonna have about 1,000 fantasy points if that happens.
Yeah. And Bisma asks, how can we figure out the weighted opportunities above average for a certain player?
Yeah, I think the best way to do it is compare. I kind of do this in golf too, and it's you literally sort by salary, and then look at weighted opportunities and to see if it's like one sticks out. It's like, wow, this one's lower or higher than the players that are priced around him. Maybe that's one we should investigate a little more. Maybe that's not comparing to previous weeks, but it's comparing it to other guys in their salary range. For instance, golf, you sort by salary, look at odds to win. You're like, wow, his odds are way lower than anyone around him. We should probably think about playing him. It kind of goes hand in hand like that. So,
yeah. Helmy's follow says, why did Deontay Johnson cuck me so badly? I thought Juju and Claypool were the better options.
Dude, yeah. Good luck figuring out that wide receiver room. If Claypool's not scoring 4 touchdowns, it's Deontay Johnson. If it's not those two, it's still not Juju. So
So interesting. So let's take a look. We got 5 minutes left, unless we stay a couple minutes late. So we always like to look at the duplicated lineups, see how many lineups are duplicated. Here, there was 96 users ran this lineup, which I don't know if you can see Brian on screen.
I'm looking here. So this goes back to what my second mistake was. I want to talk about this before we get out of here. I see they had Jamal Williams and Devontae Adams in the same lineup. So generally, when I'm building, unless I'm stacking, I don't want more than one player from the same team. So, for instance, if I'm not stacking Arizona, Seattle, I don't want DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett in the same lineup. My theory being, I want ceiling games in my GPP lineups. And if a guy has a ceiling game, his teammate also probably doesn't have a ceiling game, if that makes sense. And if both teammates have a ceiling game, you want their quarterback. I think everyone understands, and that's why we stack. But because I locked button Jamal Williams and I left my max 1 per team rule, I got 0 lineups with Jamal Williams and Devontae Adams outside of stacks. And I probably would have wanted some. And I might not have had a ton just because I like DeAndre Hopkins more. The model liked DeAndre Hopkins more. But I would have had some. So to keep in mind, if you are lock butting a running back or any position, whatever it is, and this is exclusively if you're using a lineup builder. So whether you're lock butting someone or using a ton of someone, make sure to keep in mind if there's another teammate you like to make some sort of rule that you can allow those guys in the same lineup. And the reason that works, as opposed to the DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett example, is because Jamal Williams is super cheap, right? He can get 15 points, hit GPP value. Adams can still go off. We saw this happen.
Yeah.
And that's certainly possible.
So is that something whereas, I don't know a single lineup builder that has that type of complexity. But is that something that maybe you want to hand build 5 of your lineups and include manually swap in Adams for Hopkins, for example, and 5 lineups or something?
Yeah, or because these situations are rare. We'll get a couple times per year where we're supposed to lock button a player, generally a cheap running back. So what you could do is up your max players per team rule to 2 outside of stacks, and then set custom rules to max 1 of Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, max 1 of DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Kirk. For each of the players in your playpool, it's more tedious, but or like you said, you can hand build a couple either way.
Yeah. Ken says, outside of your stack, do you target players opposing each other like a mini stack, i.e. having Metcalf and Hopkins, or is that something you wouldn't worry about?
Yeah, it's actually something, we get a lot of questions about this for the lineup builder, and we, I think we're actually in the process of implementing that because people like doing that. And yeah, it definitely adds extra upside. When you're making 150, I don't try to force it one way or the other. A lot of times it ends up working that way. But when I'm hand building, I do try to do that if I can. My WFFC lineup that I got second place that I hand built did have, Conley versus Waller plus the game stack. So yeah, when you're hand building, you want to try to do it as much as you can. 150, you're trying to get all kinds of various permutations. I don't think you necessarily have to do it, but if it's a feature in the lineup builder and you're making just a couple of lineups, it definitely works out more favorably for ceiling than if you don't do it.
Yep, absolutely. All right, cool. And then couple minutes left to get your last couple questions in. Let's look salary distribution. Let's see if this is fixed from last time. Yeah, like everybody used less than 500.
Yeah,
which I thought was kind of strange because a lot of cheap options you could have went a little more over 500 in this case. It's one of the rare times you could have.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. I actually had to lower my salary range a little bit, and then hand fix a couple just because. Yeah, using Jamal Williams, you don't want to leave 1K left over, but Jamal Williams could easily outscore any running back priced 1K or higher. So the optimal could easily have 1,500 left over or whatever it may be.
What's up 937 says, was there something you saw in the Jets Bills game, or was it just the price, Berrios, Herndon, Davis, Perriman?
Yeah, pure price. Perriman super cheap and underpriced for his role. Berrios was being thrust into a starting role because Crowder was out. Herndon, I probably should just never play him because he fucking sucks, for being honest. And then Gabe Davis, underpriced because John Brown. A lot of times on DraftKings, I'm going to have more exposure to those cheaper receivers just because they do help fit in the stacks and the way the pricing works on DraftKings. The only one of that group I truly liked was Perriman. The other 3 were just definitely underpriced for their role.
Makes sense. Cool. So let's take a look then at position usage. And this is kind of strange. I guess because of the high ownership of cheap running backs. 49% wide receiver, 47 or 48% running back, and 3% tight end.
Yeah, so naturally we were going to see less tight ends this week because of the value running backs. But still, it's interesting to see that a roughly 50-50 split between running backs and receivers.
Yep, absolutely. Now I'm curious how this changed from the millionaire. And
Swaglord Ken in the chat says, we were talking about people sucking. Swaglord Ken said, let me tell you who fucking sucks, David Montgomery. Yeah. The Duke cannot get more than 2 yards of carry.
Yeah, that's fun. I wish he just scored a little bit less somehow, please.
I know, that sucks for you.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, Moose almost took down the FanDuel mini-max. Nick Foles couldn't stop throwing to the other team or to the turf.
I needed Nick Foles to score, 0.24 more points than David Montgomery?
He played definitely one of the worst games a quarterback's ever played.
Yeah. Although I will say, going back, that was probably the stupidest lineup I've ever built, where it was a 4-1, where the 1 was Foles.
A non-Russian quarterback?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, we saw some of the lineups that were getting there last night. And again, when the game goes under the total, I know this is a classic NFL stream, but yeah, Showdown 2. If when a game goes way under the total, you'll see some crazy lineups, and that's how those get there.
Yep, absolutely. Cool. So, if we have any last couple questions, I'll stay here for a minute. Brian, do you have any last things you want to talk about?
I do want to mention this. Helmuth's father said he stacked Arizona pretty hard, but all the players stacked with Murray didn't pay off because Murray gobbled up all the points. Yeah, we see this. I mean, he's kind of in Lamar Jackson territory at this point, just because he gets so many design runs around the goal line, and he's getting so many rushing touchdowns that he falls into the category of you don't necessarily have to 3x1 stack him in tournament. I think we talked about that on Saturday a little bit. I think I even explicitly mentioned Murray, 2x2 stacking or 2x1 stacking or something, just because, especially with a narrow target share like DeAndre Hopkins, probably the optimal way to stack him was Murray, DeAndre, plus a Seattle receiver, and then go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So, yeah, as Willie says, I was about to say there was that lineup, and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, if you looked at the top of any leaderboard yesterday, at any point, you were probably going to say, what the fuck? Because there were some crazy lineups. The guy who almost won the Millie had a ridiculous lineup. The guy, DeColts, who's he's an amazing DFS player. He took down another 200K. He took down 200K in MMA this summer. He took down the FanDuel single game solo last night, and his lineup was pretty crazy looking too. And a lot of people, he got hate on Twitter saying it was a trash can lineup, and I was like, hey, that's praise for a FanDuel single game lineup. If you call a FanDuel single game lineup trash, it's probably pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, Munt season. No, get him off. Get him out.
Johnny Munt.
No, so, all right, guys, so that'll do it. Next stream scheduled for Saturday, where we talk about NFL. So, if you have any more questions, you can always hit up the Discord. But until then, it's Moose and Brian from Occupy Fantasy. You have something to say?
Yeah, next Tuesday, obviously something important is going on in this country, so the $1 Million Mission will be Wednesday next week, not Tuesday.
Yep, cool. So Saturday, then back Wednesday. Peace.
Yep, sounds good.
Peace, guys. Have a good one.